The Honourable Christopher Finlayson.
Mr Speaker, I welcome those who have travelled from the Ngati Apa Rohe and are here in the gallery today to listen to this, the third reading of the Ngati Apa North Island Claims Settlement Bill. Some people in the gallery may have found it a little strange that I exited when Mrs Turia was speaking. The reason for that was that I'm the Minister in charge of the passage of the bill, and I'm not allowed to be in the house of another minister's addressing it, so it wasn't out of any disrespect to her, far from it. She's an outstanding ministerial colleague and valued parliamentary colleague. I think she is an utterly principled and brave member of this Parliament, and out of deference to her it was entirely appropriate that she lead off the debate today, and that is why I left. Mind you, there are other people in the House that I, from a point of principle, leave as soon as they stand up to speak. Mrs Turia is not one of them. Maybe a Ginga on the other side of the House could come into that category. Anyway, and Mr Horamy is not one of them either. The passage of this bill concludes a long journey for Ngati Apa. The claim started in December 1991 with the lodging of Y265 with the Tribunal. That claim, as well as Y655, will be settled with the passage of this legislation. I very much want to acknowledge the many kuia and kaumatua who are no longer with us, who provided leadership and inspiration during this long journey towards settlement. And it's a fact, and I've seen it time and time again, that those whose names were on the claim forms to the Tribunal are no longer with us, but their children and sometimes even their grandchildren carry the burden of the claim through to settlement. And when we settle in those circumstances, it is deeply moving and humbling. I too endorse the comments of Mrs Turia in paying tribute to the visionary leadership of the negotiating team, who have conducted a superb set of negotiations throughout the various stages of the process. The previous speaker referred to the Crown apology. It is an essential component of the exercise that we have been undertaking for so many years, because as part of this settlement, the Crown apologises to Ngati Apa for past dealings that breached the Crown's obligations under the Treaty of Waitangi. These include a failure to ensure that Ngati Apa were left with sufficient land for their present and future needs, a failure to ensure that the Native Land Court gave effect to the terms of the 1849 Rangatike Turakina purchase deed, and a failure to protect Ngati Apa's traditional tribal structures. The Crown can never fully compensate Ngati Apa for its losses and dispossession, but through the settlement in this bill, we can provide the means for them to move forward to achieve their future for a great future, I'm sure it will be. And so I hope the Crown apology and settlement will lay the ground for rebuilding a lasting relationship of trust and mutual cooperation between the Crown and Ngati Apa. Mr Speaker, I want to acknowledge the role of Te Runanga o Ngati Apa in the settlement of these claims and in the hard work of the negotiation team. I commend the work of the Office of Treaty Settlements in negotiating this settlement on behalf of the Crown, and in particular I acknowledge the work of Ross Phillipson as Chief Negotiator. It's my hope and my intention to deliver the Crown apology on a Ngati Apa marae early next year, for all Ngati Apa people to hear their historical grievances acknowledged and addressed, and that's always such an important part of what we are doing. Just a couple of weeks ago I was dealing with another Ngati Apa at Omaka Marae, Kath Hemi's Ngati Apa, and when I read out the apology, silence fell. Everyone was very intently listening. It is an extremely important part of the exercise we are undertaking. So, Mr Speaker, the Ngati Apa settlement is one of the many settlements this government is progressing towards our aspirational goal of justly and durably settling historical Treaty of Waitangi claims by 2014. I wish Ngati Apa well in their future endeavours. I look forward to meeting with them, as I said, on one of their marae early in the new year, formally to read out the apology. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.